joining us.
You're welcome.
So what's the big problem on nuclear security facing the country?
Well, there are several. I guess the most significant is Iran. That seems to be attracting most of our anxiety and the political pressure of the campaign season. It's well worth worrying about for both Republicans and Democrats. And the most important thing is to try and find a solution to the problem.
What would you suggest? What is the solution?
Well, I think we need to try as best as we can to find a diplomatic solution to the problem. We've already fought 2 wars in the Middle East in Muslim countries. If we were to go in again, it would be a 3rd war, which would have many implications that are, let's just say, the unknown factors there are very high. We don't need another war in the Middle East in such a volatile region. We'll lose our coalition. We may not solve the problem. We may make it worse. So there's a lot of, shall we say, implications that are not well known, and that's the most dangerous part.
And so moving around the world, we've got another nuclear country next door to Iran, Pakistan. What do you see is happening in that area?
Well, we hear that AQ Khan may be running for office, and his mission is to spread nuclear weapons throughout the Muslim world. That's not a positive development. Also, we are constantly worried about the security of the Pakistan nuclear weapons and the infrastructure therein. If Pakistan were to break apart, have a civil war, have some kind of instability, there are many kinds of factions and actors in Pakistan who could prove, let's say, very worrisome if that were to occur.
And recently in the news here in DC, there's been reports about the Chinese nuclear forces.
Correct. I think the Chinese nuclear forces have been at a rather moderate level since they began having nuclear forces. I think we don't want to overblow what their capabilities are. We want to watch it closely. But so far, we understand what they're doing. We don't appreciate the modernization, but after all, we are modernizing as well. So it's something to keep our eye on, but I don't think in all the nuclear problems around the world, that should worry us the most.
Thank you. And so let's take the big nuclear issue that's facing the U.S., our strategic stockpile and its relationship with Russia. We recently ratified the New START Treaty. What would be the next steps under a Obama administration?
Well, actually, the New START Treaty was ratified, though we forget, 2 years ago. So it hasn't been that recently. In the interim, between the New START ratification and today, we have many, many military officials speaking out, or former military officials speaking out about their desire to go lower in terms of our stockpile. Everyone agrees that we have a lot of, let's say, fat in our nuclear deployed force, and we could go much lower and lead the world by example. So I think that's the obvious plum to be picked. It's an easy one. It's not necessarily going to endanger our nuclear deterrent or change the strategic equation in any way. So I think both former military officials as well as the Obama administration are examining what our future nuclear force would look like. And maybe there'll be another treaty. Some people are talking about unilateral reciprocal measures that we could, let's say, do with Russia or even China, and see how low we could go without endangering our deterrent. As for the Romney administration, well, that's an open question. Romney has indicated that he's not particularly interested in reductions, but many Republican administrations have started out with a very hard line on nuclear weapons, and they're the ones who've gone the lowest. So let's hope it's going to be lower, at least for our national security, and we'll see what happens.
And clearly that's linked with the budget issues we have and sequestration. How does this all fit in together?
Well, it's very interesting because sequestration is a problem we've brought onto ourselves, and now we don't seem to feel like we could solve it ourselves without some sort of catastrophe. I think there doesn't need to be a catastrophe. I think there's ways of, shall we say, reducing the budget in a scalpel-like approach, and nuclear weapons are part of that debate. Many people think there's a lot of fat in the nuclear budget. DOE has well known for not managing its programs very well in some cases. So I think reducing some of the facilities consistent with a look at reducing the deployed stockpile is the right way to go.
And does that link with the future of the triad?
I think it does. There are a lot of decisions pending about modernizing the triad. The RICBMs need modernization. We need a new bomber, let's say, if we were to pose a nuclear bomber as an option. And there are submarines that where the warheads are likely going to be modernized. So there are a lot of decisions hanging balance about where we're going, and the budget plays into that.
And taking outside our stockpiles and our weapons, there is this menace we see out there of proliferation and possible terrorism on the nuclear side. What's going on in that sense?
Well, traditionally, both Republicans and Democrats see the threat of nuclear terrorism as the most important security problem we face. So far, I think our programs have gone a long way in controlling those kinds of, let's say, loose nukes. We need to continue to support those programs, particularly the Nunn-Lugar program, and keep a constant eye on those issues, and continue to support every effort we can to stem the tide of proliferation. Ratification of the Test Ban Treaty, some believe, will help in that effort. If we ban nuclear tests, that's one, shall we say, avenue we close. But in any event, it's still a very serious problem, and we need to keep our eye on the ball.
You mentioned the Nunn-Lugar initiative.
Yes.
Of course, we're going to lose Senator Lugar from the Senate in this time around. What did he bring to this discussion?
Well, I was in the State Department when the wall fell, shall we say, and we were all concerned about denuclearizing the former Soviet Union and its nuclear enterprise. Senator Nunn and Senator Lugar proposed this program. Everyone in the State Department said to themselves, oh, we don't need that. What do we need that for? We're the government. Well, let's just say in the end, we authorized this program, and it has brought a wealth of stability and efforts to reduce the nuclear stockpiles, reduce the threat of chemical weapons, try and control the biological threat throughout the world. It's really brought a lot to the world in terms of international stability.
And to close, I mean, what would you like to see the next administration do in this issue, whichever party?
Well, I'd like to take the politics out of nuclear security issues. I'd like everyone to take a cold, hard look at where our stockpile is, what we need for deterrence, what will do the best for stemming the world in terms of stemming worldwide non-proliferation, or proliferation, I should say, and trying our best to design the policies that will be the most effective, whether they're Republican policies or Democratic policies.
Terri Lodge, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.